welcome everyone. Welcome back to Mav Sports Take, episode 27 here. Your weekly podcast for sports, business, and much more. We're going to give you a wide scope of the sporting world. Here we are to tackle the business of all news you hear about and the inside info that maybe some other media outlets don't want to talk about too much. Me and myself and Mr. David Turner are going to hash out what we're hearing, what the true story is. No fluff on this podcast here at Mav Sports Take. We're going to talk, of course, the big news of the week is Matthew Stafford traded to Los Angeles Rams for Jared Goff and a plethora of draft picks. So we're going to get into that talk. We're also going to talk about some risers during Senior Bowl week. And, of course, we try to have an interview almost every week. And we have one that is actually a really fun one for me because this is the third time that I've had the pleasure of talking to him in some type of podcast or seminar type of fashion. So it's going to be a really fun one. We got Mr. Zach Davidson, tight end out of Central Missouri / punter as well. I can't forget about the punting work that he does for the last 3 years for Central Missouri as well. And, of course, he is a 2021 NFL draft prospect. Before I pop on, Zach, David, how are you, my friend? We haven't talked too much recently. It's been a little bit of a busy time, you know?
It's been a busy time for both you and I, so I understand. Everything's been kind of crazy. But, no, everything's good tonight. A little hoarse, so I won't be probably as exuberant as usual, but yeah, I'm excited to hear what Zach has going and how he's attacking this offseason, this draft process, and then get into the Stafford deal and all the other stuff we have planned tonight. So let's get this party started.
Absolutely, folks. And we want to say before we start, we want to thank everybody that is live with us. We're going to take questions all night. So if you have a question for Zach when we bring him on, if you have a question for one of us, we'll touch base on it during the show. We usually do a mailbag section at the end. We decided to work it into the actual show. So throw in questions at any time. Could be sports related, could be business related, could be general. You know, you want to know something about David Turner, throw it in the chat. We have all the time in the world, I think. I don't know. Yes. And we have our first comment of the night, Jack Dispo, Ryan Roberts, a father. Yes, correct. Ryan Roberts is officially a father. So
it's officially a father. It's officially the third person in the household.
Absolutely. Yep. The third most important person in the household, not counting the dog.
Wait,
so
I was going to say, do you have dogs? Then you're even worse. You're like,
right. I have a rabbit too, so I don't know where the hierarchy is on all that. Shout out to Jack, though, for being the first comment of the night. We appreciate you so much. Before we get Zach on here, before we get into the thick of it here at Maverick Sports Take, we want to tell you about Maverick Sports Consulting. We would like to ask you to follow, subscribe, and take the chance to interact with us on our Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and other social media platforms. We are a company that is all about helping maximize your opportunities in front of you and your career. The only way we can support you is to hear from you. Your takeaway from tonight's show should be that if you interact with us, we will find a way to help you in your career path. Reach out, and we could do Mav's episode on your topic, or we should circle back with you to help you with your sub-individual attention. Don't worry. Reach out today at Mav_sports on Twitter or on the other social media platforms. So as promised, bring it on now, Mr. Zach Davidson. So real quick, brief background of Zach. If you haven't heard of him, well, you are very soon because the 2021 NFL Draft is quickly coming upon us. So Zach is an All-American tight end out of Central Missouri, also a 3-time All-Conference punter for the team. He went down to the CGS, the College Gridiron Showcase, and weighed in at, I believe it was 6'6" and 5'8" off the top of my head, 248 pounds. So for the Division II level, when you're talking about can a guy play at the next level, well, we need traits. Certainly at the tight end position, those hit some thresholds. Those hit some markers. And obviously last year in his junior season, he had almost 900 yards on only 40 receptions, over 20 yards a catch, 15 touchdowns. So Zach Davidson is obviously a very accomplished player. Welcome into Mav Sports Take. Zach, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you guys for having me, and congratulations on the new child in the household.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I'm running on a lot of caffeine today, but I'm very happy that we are back here tonight.
That's going to be the rest of your life.
I was about to say, it's only the beginning, my brother.
Yeah, your caffeine addiction is just started.
I'm only on 3 cups today, so we'll see what happens. So
we'll get up to 6, and then we'll talk.
Yeah, right. Well, this Mav Sports Take is caffeine for me. You know, this is an injection of positivity and adrenaline. And I have on screen not only an 18-year scouting vet, Mr. David Turner, but of course, Zach Davidson, All-American tight end. And Zach, I want to talk to you because, we have talked in the past a couple times, right? Like we had our individual interview. I had you for the D2 showcase, preparing for the spring. Obviously, you decided that you're going to go through the draft process rather and take your game to the next level and test the waters there. So starting out just with the COVID breakdown, because I know that when we spoke in the past, you talked about, the trials and tribulations going through everything pandemic related. But for the people that may just be hearing from you for the first time, take us into like how these last few months have been, even going back to summer, trying to figure out how managing this, the best way to just, work through all these obstacles and how you were able to, in your opinion, make the best of what is a bad situation.
Well, that's quite a story, man. Where do I start? Starting in the summer, I mean, having a season like I had in 2019, really popping off on the scene, getting my name out there, doing some things on the field that make me look extravagant. Just really going into the next season ready to put my exclamation point on whatever's left out there to question about me. But preparing the whole summer for a full season, I mean, working my butt off day in, day out, just to have it canceled a couple of weeks before we were about to play our first game. It was tough. It was hard. It was a mental challenge for especially the plans I had coming out this December. Going to finish up my graduation. I mean, had a lot relying on the season, just exposure-wise. But we ended up training all the way up until October because we were going to try and pick up 2 scrimmages. They ended up both getting pulled out from under us. So being able to practice under a new offensive coordinator allowed me to expand my game just a little bit more. It's not like I took the whole semester off. We were practicing 5 days a week, and we were in the weight room as well, all the way up until October. So it was just, I mean, for me, it allowed me to focus on my last semester. It allowed me to meet with agents. I'd started speaking with agents in January, just kind of carried out conversations, build rapport with a handful of guys, and just allowed me to make my decision in November. After hearing a lot of good feedback, I decided to come out, and we're here. I mean, I got down to Bomarito's a week before Christmas, got a full weekend to help me prepare for Christmas break so I could train on my own just to give me a little head start before I went full go in January. And then we've taken it off ever since. I mean, Pete Bomarito has a great facility down here, great staff, great program to put guys through. So I've been killing it ever since. I've seen my body weight increase. I'm being able to emphasize areas that I've needed to work on, haven't had to focus on at the Division II strength staff level. Just being able to focus on it 100% of the time. It's a full-time job now, and I'm loving it, man. It's everything I could ask for, and can't wait to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Zach,
you mentioned a couple things there, Zach. You talked about talking through with agents and stuff. Who is your agent, and what was the determining factors that led you to sign with them?
I ended up going with Carter Chow and Ian Dubin Sports. Really reputation right there. With Don Yee having success with multiple clients in the past. I mean, he represents some of the hierarchy guys. Just drop one name, Tom Brady. I think that says enough just to see the way he's handled his career professionally. I mean, every agent in their firm has their law degree, so that was something huge for me. I don't want any question marks on any endeavors down the field business wise. So really that plus their connections, having over 25 years between the three was a big deal for me. Knowing how to negotiate with teams, how to reach out, how to get my name out there for me. It was huge. I mean, and having a mutual friend and Coach Swoboda when he was at UCLA, Don Yee actually represented him, and he's the one who put me in contact with him at first. So just having somebody that I trusted meant a lot because he trusted them. I mean, he had been represented for several years under them. So yeah, it started there and it just took off, man.
What is, you were saying you had some stuff you needed to work on, and I imagine maybe you got some feedback from NFL guys or your coaches on what to work on. You said down at Bomarito's before the draft. What are a couple things that you've worked on since getting with Bomarito and them?
Really, it's a lot of core strength and upper body strength. I feel like that's where I was missing out in the run game. So having the detailed focus on increasing it at a fast rate and increasing it in the right areas and making sure it's even and allowing me to perform at a high rate for long period of time. Just increasing my thresholds and in the weight room and on the field. They're known for their speed program, so really learning how minor increments of the body can be adjusted to increase performance. So yeah, it's just allowing me to understand how my body works for real. And Pete does a great job of explaining it and allowing me to learn while participating in the activity.
And Zach, I know when I spoke to you last, you were or actually it might have been our first interview. You told me that, your junior year you had played around like 235, 240. Obviously, you weighed in at 248 at the College Gridiron Showcase. You have that body where I think that you could put on, still a substantial amount of muscle, right? Like you could still redistribute and add to that core that you're talking about, right? That upper body and core strength. For you, is there a playing weight that maybe you guys have targeted? Like, that's where I want to get, that's where I'm going to feel comfortable? Or is it just kind of like just feeling it out type of thing?
It's a feeling it out, just not being consistently at this high of a weight. I mean, I'm at 246 to 248 on a daily basis. So being able to consistently stay at this weight and perform every day at a high rate, it's a learning experience for me. I mean, I definitely feel like I have room to go, and it's just going to be feeling it out in the long run, depending on what a team wants me to do. If they want me more of a Y full time on the field, it might be me getting up to 250, 255, 260, which I feel my body frame could handle, like you said. But if a team wants to utilize me more as a punter and like a third string H-back tight end that comes in throughout the game, I think the 250 will allow me to still be able to be involved in the run game, but also allow me to be agile and maneuver. I haven't yet been up to 255 or 260, so I can't tell you how I'll perform at that weight, but just knowing how I've been able to perform down here at so far, I feel very confident that I'd be able to perform.
I don't know if I've ever seen a multi-position player in the NFL. Like, I mean, there was like the Joe Webb who could fill in at wide receiver and quarterback a little bit and returner, but a punter, tight end, H-back, that's a rare one that hasn't been seen in the league in a while. What are your thoughts on becoming that type player again and showing teams that you do have that versatility? Like how does that make you feel?
It definitely makes me feel good. Speaking with a lot of scouts over the past couple of weeks at the College Gridiron Showcase and other times where I've been able to, just knowing what versatility can bring you to a team. I mean, every team's got 53 spots, 54 spots. So being able to do multiple things allows you to do more for the team in the long run, allows them to travel in extra safety if they're short depth, allows them to do stuff along that line. So knowing that it's more job security than anything, even starting to take on long snapping and holding just to become a full-time specialist, I have to, if the team needs me to be a backup in either of those positions is huge for me. So finding the resources to allow myself to perform in those spots as well will be huge along these next couple of months. Like I said, just job security, man. More excited for myself than anything, just learning more about myself each week. I mean, breaking thresholds on a daily. I mean, that's what Pete's known for down here. So just pushing myself to the limit and learning as fast as I can. And each aspect of the game is really my goals for the next 2.5 months until I get into an organization and really find out what my role will be, so I can then focus on it and hit the nail right on the head.
And David, just to put it out there a little more in the backstory, and I thought this was the most fascinating story. So this is how I found out about Zach, right? So I'm making my preseason lists. I'm trying to find, I'm making each position, position by position, finding names that I think need to be on the board and just to take deep dives into, right? So I go to the Division II level. I see, hey, wow, this kid is listed at 6'7", 245 pounds at tight end. Like, he's got to be on my radar, right? So, like, I write his name down. I watch him. And then I'm impressed, obviously, over 20 yards a catch, 15 touchdowns, outstanding stuff. I saw the punting thing on the background. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Okay, that's a remarkable story. But then I reach out to Zach. We have the interview, and then I do my even more deep research on him. And he had barely played much offense while in high school. He was almost a full-time punter. I mean, I think at senior year, you can correct me, Zach, if I'm wrong about this, but I think you had like maybe 6 or 7 receptions, but they were like 30 yards pop or something like that, right?
I had 4 receptions, 3 touchdowns, and I did look it up this past week, and it was 133 yards.
There you go. See,
it was just opportunity in high school. Being a split back veer team, I wasn't an inline blocker, and that's what our tight ends were. So I stayed in my lane with punting, and I focused on it, and it got me to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. So he goes to Central Missouri as like, oh, I'm going to be a punter. We'll see what happens offensively. And then he develops into an All-American tight end. I've never heard any story like this, David. And this is why I wanted to bring him on, man. It's bizarre and it's awesome. And I'm a believer in the kid's talent level, obviously. This is why I want to have him on. So,
hey, Zach, just look at him in the camera and say, baller's ball, bro. Like, it's like, hey, I'm a baller. I find a way on the field. Baller's ball, bro. Like, that's what we do, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be the question mark guy. I mean, whether it's on 4th down or on 3rd down. So if I get the ball in my hands, I'm gonna do what I can to help the team out. So,
tell us about the opportunity at GCS and what it was like to go down there and be part of that, and subsequently coming out of that. What's been the difference in conversation with scouts and teams?
I mean, Jose's got a great event going down there. He's got a great staff and got some great seminars set up for guys financially. Just letting guys who are choosing to pursue this field of work know what to expect over the next couple of years. On top of meeting with numerous scouts and on top of the performance aspect, it's allowed me to really focus on what I need to focus on. Whether it's right now, it's just training and getting to where I can be pro day / combine wise, and then focusing on doing what I need to do later when I have a contract, when I have a position to fill, when I have duties on field and off the field. Other than that, I was able to meet with 24 out of the 30 teams that were there, and then I was able to go perform in the tight end, wide receiver drills and stay for the quarterback set, which I thought was a huge opportunity for me, being one of the only guys who didn't play a season in 2020. So I knew I had to take full advantage of the opportunity, and man, I mean, I feel like it worked out for me in the end. So.
Mm-hmm. And Zach, I wanted to ask now because, with the draft process continuing to get, more regimented, you talked about all the things you've been doing. Obviously, with a little bit of a strange case to a degree, just obviously continuing with, playing multiple positions, because usually guys are, hey, they're going to be in the weight room, they're going to be doing field drills, they're going to be doing, some interview prep. Like, that's kind of like the daily regiment for you, being a guy that does multiple positions, punter and tight end, and trying to balance both things. What does your daily routine look like as far as training? Do you have like specific times for tight end and punter, or is it like one day exclusive? Like, what does that daily look like?
It varies each day. I do focus more on just combine pro day prep. So just running 40, I mean, 5, 10, 5, L drill, etc. On top of doing position drills twice a week with Sly Johnson, premier athlete, shout out. Just working drills of receiving and understanding what I need to do to get open, understanding how to properly run routes, understand how to use leverage in the pass game, on top of just bettering myself in the run game on my own time. We don't have an offensive line coach down here. I mean, that's one fallacy of being down here at Bommeritos, but just finding time for myself in that area, I'm able to do it. On top of punting's on my own time down here. I'm waiting till some of the pros get back so I can kind of pick their brains a little bit. I mean, I know I have the skill set. I just need a couple tweaks to my operation, and I feel like I can make an impact early with that as well. Daily, I mean, we have multiple medical sessions of preparing your body to perform and preventing injuries. So I'll give an example. One day we were running the Pro I, and I planted out of a cut, and my hips kind of tweaked. 10 minutes later, I went into the PT room. He worked on my hips. I got a massage, and then the next day I was out there performing. I mean, just having that on hand is huge. It allows me to, like I said, nonstop learn and keep performing and keep growing day by day, which was a huge thing for me.
I know you mentioned the combine prep. Is there a pro day that's going to happen at Central Missouri? Do you know where that's going to occur? Or are you going to be at your facility? Like, what is that format going to look like?
Right now, that's to be determined for me.
Gotcha.
Pete's talked about maybe having something down here for free agents and guys don't have the opportunity, depending on what the NFL does with their radius to home school. If anything, I've set it up with Coach Boda at Central Missouri to where I'll be able to go back and film me running through drills and stuff like that. So we've got a backup plan. I'm still waiting to hear back from a couple colleges close by, but right now it's just focusing on doing what I can up until then to improve my game.
And can you give us a little preview, Zach? I know I'm sure maybe you haven't done too much mock pro days yet, but like, what are the numbers going to look like, man? I'm excited because I keep seeing you beating guys down the seam. I know it's, some people say, oh, it's at the Division II level, but I think you're a really good athlete. So you give me a preview of some of those numbers.
I'm just going to say it's going to open some eyes. I'm not going to give any spoilers. So we'll see. I'm out here. I'm working my ass off, and I'll tell you what, I'm reaching thresholds that I haven't reached yet. So I'm moving pretty good, and I'm feeling really strong throughout a full 40, and I'm feeling strong in the agility drills as well. So we'll see when we get there.
Love it.
I love it. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on tonight, Zach. It was a pleasure meeting you and everything. Now tell all the people how to find you on social media and where they can maybe see you posting some of your videos on workouts and stuff, so scouts that might be listening or personnel people know where to go and watch your workouts even every day.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I was going to get it in there somewhere. ZDAV30, so ZDAV30. That's on Twitter. That's on Instagram. I'm trying to pick up my Instagram game. I'm not too big on social media, so I'm trying to stay as active as I can and interact with as many people as I can. So if you give me a shout out on Twitter or Instagram, I'll for sure try and get you back. But I'll keep everybody updated on there, whether it's pro day, etc.
Awesome. Well, again, Mr. Zach Davidson, All-American tight end out of Central Missouri, 2021 NFL draft prospect and prospective punter as well. Can't forget to throw in the special teams there. Zach, appreciate it again, man. We'll definitely have to do this kind of leading up to the draft. I know you're not quite rid of me yet, man, because I'm rooting for you, and I'll be absolutely I just really, like David said, I want to see just the progress that you continue to make towards that pro day. I know it's going to be a huge day for you, but I congratulate you on everything that you're doing, and thank you so much for the time again today.
No, I appreciate it, guys. I mean, it means a lot. Anything I can do to get my story out there allows people to understand who I am and where I come from. So I appreciate you having me on tonight.
Hey, have a good night, Zach. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
All right, so again, that was Mr. Zach Davidson, tight end from Central Missouri. We thank him again so much for taking some time with us tonight. Definitely have to get him on, David, before the show, before the final show happens, right? The NFL draft. I know that he's going to be a hot commodity. I know Daniel Cassie just threw in a comp. I'm a comp guy. If anybody that follows me on Twitter, you know that.
Yeah, we all know. We all know.
Hey, man, I'll say this, David. I'll say this. Some people hate comps. For me, like for the media presence, to really, because some people, don't see the game the same, right? So, like, to give them just a comp for me is just saying, like, stylistically, this is what this guy looks like. Stylistically, this is how this guy wins. It's not so much a predictor of success. I'm just saying that they are, for me, just telling you this is the play style. This is the play style. So that was my best job right there, Dan. I appreciate you so much for being in here again. To stall for a second, as I thought of a comp in my head, and I will say, I think this is a good one. I think. Ready? Green Bay Packers tight end Tanyan, who had a really nice season this year, had like 11 touchdowns, right? He's former quarterback in college, actually, and he's kind of filled out his frame. He's a really gifted athlete. I think that's kind of a guy that can kind of threaten the seam a bunch. So there's a quick comp for you, David. Did you like that one? Was that worth the wait?
No, I thought you were going to go with the old Penn State guy that's now down at Miami. Yeah, I thought you were going to give him a Gesicki because he said he wasn't much of an inline blocker in high school, and he's had to work on that, and that's a part of his game he's going to have to develop coming up to the second level, according to him. So I thought you were going to give me a Gesicki reference here.
Well, let's say this. Ready? Mine will be Robert Tanyan. Yours can be Mike Gesicki. There's David Turner.
Oh no, I don't know him.
I
don't know him like you. So,
well,
I was just listening to the interview. I was listening to what his measurements were, and he kind of measured in like Gesicki. So I was just like, I thought that's where you were going with it.
Well, and I'll say Mike Gesicki ran like 4.51, had like a 40-inch vert. So if my man's testing like that, I'll let him have the Gesicki comp. I'll love it. Dan, we don't force comps here, okay? We don't force comps. All I know is that I'm gonna tweet out that quote from David Turner comparing Zach to Mike Gesicki. It'll be out there.
I'm sure it will within minutes.
It will be.
Yeah, like I said, I'm sure it will within minutes.
Yep. And we have
Click
Zach.
Daddy.
Zach actually threw into the private chat for us that they're both fair comps. So Zach approves, and I love it so much. That was a fun one, though, David. I really appreciate it. I will say this last note on Zach before we move on to the other segments here. Crazy story, man. I mean, honestly, when I started doing the background research, I had never heard a story like this before because at first he got on my radar simply because, hey, Division II level, we need to transcend that quote-unquote lack of competition, right? So for me, what is going to transcend that? Traits. Well, 6'6 plus, 6'6.5", 248 pounds, average over 20 yards a catch, 15 touchdowns. If you are going to be that guy that's going to make that jump from the Division II level to an NFL team and make that jump and then to be a successful football player, you need to have those traits and you need to dominate the competition on your level. And he certainly did. So that last note there on Zach.
Old school Kevin Boss did that at his level. I remember coming out of Western Oregon, D2 kid. I went up there, I met him. He had an incredible frame, body work, and style, and I got to know him, and he was a guy that, to me, was only 6'5". I don't think he was 6'6" like this guy, but he was 6'5" and 245 or 250 when I got there, and, looked the part, played the part, and was just a difference maker at his level. So, this is if you want a D2 comp, that's one that I could see him fitting in.
And shout out to Rick Saratelli. He's in the chat. He just threw Adnan Shaheen, who was the Division II kid that was drafted by the Chicago Bears, I believe, in the third round when he came out, second or third round. It was pretty early. So we got a bunch of tight end comps, but we want to move into the hot topic of the week. Of course, Matt Stafford. And David, this one. This was close to my heart as a Los Angeles Rams fan. So I have a lot of thoughts on this one. Ready? So we have Mr. Matt Stafford was traded to the LA Rams in exchange for Jared Goff, David's boy, Jared Goff, by the way, a 2021 third-round pick, a 2022 first-round pick, and a 2023 first-round pick. And, of course, the Twitterverse exploded because why? The Rams hate first-round picks. Oh, the Rams hate first-round picks. That's the whole conversation. And, of course, the 2 first-round picks in this after trading 2 for Jalen Ramsey, after trading 2 or 3, I forget what it was, for Jared Goff originally. So the Rams have not picked in the first round since Jared Goff, and they're not now going to pick until 2024 in the first-round pick. So I think this is a really cool conversation, David, not only just from hey, let's look at it from the team perspective, but we talked about trade value, right? And we talked about why it's important. For me, I looked at this and I said, I thought the Rams won this trade. For me, the Rams win this trade, more absolutes, because you are going to get a better quarterback, a much better quarterback, in my opinion. No disrespect to Jared Goff, because he's solid.
You totally are disrespecting him right now, but go ahead.
No. Jared Goff is a very solid quarterback. Not bad. He's not. But Matt Stafford, in my opinion, is one of the most disrespected and underrated quarterbacks of this era. I think he's a very good quarterback that has been kind of, just thrown into a bad franchise and a bad organization. We talk about what situation means so much. And despite that bad situation, did you know this, David? He's already tied for 7th all time in fourth quarter comebacks with John Elway. So it's not like he hasn't taken his team to better heights than what they probably would have done. So Matt Stafford, in my opinion, you are trading 2 first-round picks. You are getting rid of Jared Goff's contract, and you're getting a quarterback that in this winning window that you have, because their defense is good, they have Cam Akers, they have good wide receivers. There is a lot to like about this Rams team, and now you have, in my opinion, one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. He's not a top 5 guy, but he's a top 10 guy, in my opinion. And I think the Rams are ready to not, because you've seen them get to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff already. Now we have a better quarterback. For me, I think Rams are going to be one of the favorites to make it to the Super Bowl next year, in my opinion.
Oh, I think so, 100%. Like, I agree with you. I think the Rams come out smelling like roses here because not only is he a better quarterback, Stafford a better quarterback, and I'm not going to preference that with no disrespect because I'm disrespecting you, Jared. It is what it is. You haven't proven it to me yet. But Stafford, like you said, he's moved into 7th all-time in fourth quarter comebacks behind a gold jacket or tied with the gold jacket, John Elway, right? Mm-hmm. So you're looking at a situation where they got much better at quarterback, much better than anybody they could have drafted. And here's the kick in the ass. He's only 33 years old. Okay?
Right.
And he's got 2 years left on his deal. Both years of those deals, he's in his $20 million mark. He's not in a $30 or $40 million mark. He's in the $20 million mark both years. So you can sign him at 33. I know he'll be 34, I believe, before next season. So say 34 years old.
He's just about to turn 33, so he won't be 34 next offseason. Yep.
Okay, so he's 33 years old. And now you go and you sign him to a 2-year extension. Mm-hmm. You got a guy locked up for 4 years, so he'll be 37 years old before he sees the end of that. You've just solved your quarterback problem for the next 4 or 5 years. You can sign him to a 2 or 3 year extension,
right?
And you got him locked up for 4, and he's only 37, 38 years old. And again, you can base that extension with, escalators and all sorts of ways to map it out where if we win a Super Bowl in your first 2 years, your third year of your contract, goes up by $5 million or $6 million, whatever. And you can put some stuff in there that's friendly to the organization. If he plays into it, you actually know what that salary is going to go up. So now you can go and format and do some things to move your cap around, right? And make sure to prepare for the quarterback to stick around. That's playing to earn the money, right?
Yep.
So you put the motivation in there to play to earn the money. He plays and he earns it. And now the Rams are winning. Say they win 1 Super Bowl in the next 2 years. Was this trade worth it? Hell yeah, it was.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And all they really gave up this year was a 3rd round pick. I know I made a comment in one of the Twitterverse people corrected me saying they didn't have a 1st round pick to trade this year. And I said, no, I get that. And we haven't gotten to the Lions section of this yet. But for me, if all you really gave up was Jared Goff and a contract that you didn't want to pay out anyways, and got that off your books, and then a 3rd round pick for this year, in order to potentially win a Super Bowl this year, 2021, to win a Super Bowl, I think you paid a very nice price to get that done. That's a favorable price. Now, if you get in the situation and if you don't look better on offense, you don't put your team in a Super Bowl this year, yeah, people might chirp next year that this wasn't the best deal and that you gave up your 1st round pick for the next 2 years about him. But I guarantee you go out and hit that Super Bowl, you win that ring this year. Hey, nobody's going to say nothing about those 1st round picks. No one's going to say nothing about those 1st round picks.
Absolutely not. And I will say this, David. I think multiple great points there. For me, it's like, people are like, oh, you traded for a 32, 33-year-old quarterback. That's not old anymore. That's nothing, man.
That's not old anymore. And also, it never was old.
Right.
I mean, it's just not 30-something years old for a quarterback is not old. They've played it to 35, 36 years old, and then 37, 38. Now Tom Brady's playing into his 40s. So, you're looking at a quarterback that's gotten prime left in him. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's not a beat-up old horse. And second, you traded away a contract that you didn't want to pay. So
Right.
from the business sense, you got off a contract that you didn't want to pay. You received a quarterback that's contract is actually favorable for your cap, who is a better quarterback. And for the Lions, I heard they had limited offers as far as 2 first-round picks go. The Lions had to give up the Rams had to give up the second first-round pick for the Rams had to give up the second first-round pick for the Lions to take the deal because they knew they were inheriting Goff's contract, and they had to get rid of Goff. So they said, okay, if we're going to take that contract, then give us a second first-round pick because that's a big contract for us to swallow if Jared comes up here and we don't like him. That's going on our cap. So,
well, it's. Yeah, so it's great points. So I will say this from the Lions' perspective because that's where we're taking this conversation, right? And I think that there's a lot of layers to this one. So, I mean, let's call it what it is. The Lions are in complete reset. They're like, we need as many assets as possible. We need as many draft picks. So they had to eat the Jared Goff contract, but for them, that was worth getting those 2 first-round picks and a third-rounder. Like that roster's so bad, they are not going to be relevant anytime soon. They gave their coach Dan Campbell a 6-year contract. So this is a long haul overload here. This is a long haul rebuild. This is not a quick fix. So you didn't have to trade Matt Stafford in the sense of like, he's not going to be in a different, like he could have still been playing great football and been a good window when you potentially do turn over this roster. The problem is that you probably don't have enough ammunition to turn it over that quickly. So you had to just completely hit the reset. And that's your biggest trade asset right now is Matt Stafford. So it was almost like their hand was forced at that point, right? It's not so much that he wouldn't be effective in the right window. It's just that was their only asset that they had.
Well, I get it's their only asset, but for me, the trade's bad for the Lions because they get a quarterback they might not end up keeping past training camp this year. So if you say, okay, so maybe this is my limited thinking, but I don't think it is. If you say, okay, we're going with Goff this year, and you pass on the free agent quarterback market or the market to get a Jimmy Garoppolo or maybe an Aaron Rodgers, I mean, who knows, right? I mean, if you pass on that opportunity to get one of those guys or a Sam Donald or somebody, then and you go with Goff and you watch this Mario go around and you don't get any of the other ones. And then you go into the draft and you don't draft a player. You're just fully committed to Goff, and he's not what you think he is when you get to training camp, and you're not happy once you get him into the building, right? Now you're stuck, and that contract is going to hit your salary cap not only in 2021, but it's going to hit you in 2022 when you cut him. So, and then again, if you do not think Goff is your guy, and this is a Brock Osweiler type deal where it's like, okay, you got to trade him and get the cap off us to, do this other part and yada, yada. Well, now how's Jared going to react if you sign a veteran quarterback to back him up or compete with him? How is he going to feel if you draft a quarterback and, it's a competition? Because he's the $100 million quarterback that's been to the playoffs and twice, and he's gone to the Super Bowl. So how's his ego going to take a trade and then more on top of it, either getting a veteran in there to back him up or getting a young kid to come in and if you draft that young kid in the first round or second round this year, is it going to be a Philadelphia situation? So, again, that's why I don't like it for the Lions as a trade. And also, to talk about a couple of these rumors here really quick, in essence with this, one of the rumors I heard was my old club, the Panthers, offered up the 8th overall pick this year in this year's draft to get Stafford there. And I heard
Right.
Stafford wasn't opposed to going there. So, if that's the case, I know you wouldn't have gotten 2 firsts for Stafford. You might have only got 1 first and maybe a third, but they potentially could have both been this year's draft.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Stafford to Carolina, and you got, the 2 picks, and you hadn't had to inherit a quarterback contract that was heavy and do all that other stuff just to get a second first. So, again, to me is a better deal because that hits that reset button starting this year.
Mm-hmm.
And that 8th overall pick plus their pick, which I think, where are the Lions sitting? I think they're sitting, where are they at? 5?
Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think.
We'll find out. We'll get it for you
Yeah,
here in a second.
yeah.
But
Google exists, right? So we can find this out very easily.
yeah, we can find this.
I think it's 7th. Don't quote me on that one though.
Okay, but even if it's 7, it strengthens my point even better because now you'd have the 7th and 8th pick, back-to-back picks in the first round, where you could take a Trey Lance and maybe a left tackle to solidify that first, the 7th round pick, or 7th pick, so 7th and 8th. So, that's what I'm saying. Like you could take Sewell and you could take Lance back to back, maybe in that area, and now you got your quarterback of the future and your left tackle, and you've done it back to back picks in the first round. And if both of them, play out, you have them on 5-year contracts. So,
well, I would say this. One, I've been doing too many mock drafts because I knew that 7th overall pick, right? Like that's the most random draft pick ever. Like I don't care about the Detroit Lions at all, which is, pat on Ryan's back, I guess, there for a split second for wasting his time with so many mock drafts. I think the other thing, David, is when we comb those layers though, talking about that, like obviously like 8th overall pick sounds great to me. Back to back sounds great to me. Hey, maybe you can even get up and get your quarterback. Brad Holmes is the general manager now with the Detroit Lions, who is with the Los Angeles Rams. Maybe he believes in Goff. And then said, hey, and then I got 2 first-round picks and a 3rd-round pick coupled with, because apparently the story came out that Brad Holmes was the guy that really went to bat for Jared Goff when they drafted him to say, like, yeah, let's move. Like, we have to move up. This is the guy. Like, this is the guy. So maybe he's just a Goff believer, and he got 2 first-round picks and a 3rd. Like, maybe that's just his influence, I guess.
And again, I see it. I understand. But, you got to digest the play. And Goff has been captain check down, for the last couple of years, and now he's got an injured thumb. And yeah, he didn't throw it terrible in Green Bay, but he also didn't lead them down and win the game there either, So, now you're in Detroit, and you're going to have to play in Lambeau, and you're going to have to play in Chicago outdoors, cold weather games, at least once a year, unless they let you go in there early, which you're never going to get both those teams hit early. So, that thumb is going to be, it's going to be something to watch. It's going to be something to watch how it comes out of his hands and everything, and how he develops with that injury, on top of, what this team's going to look like to protect him, to be able to. And again, you're not looking to protect that offensive line's not making a step up this year, unless they pack some. After they take it 7, but if they take an offensive lineman at 7, then what are they going to do, to fill out the receiver and running back cores and everything else, and also help their defense? So, I like the Carolina thing from what I heard, because I was just like, this gets you the 8th overall pick and probably a 3rd this year, and now you can use that draft capital to start building your team, which, like you've indicated, it's not going to be an instant coffee. They're not 1 or 2 players away. They need several, but 2 this year to me is better than, down, because again, they win the Super Bowl, that first round pick for next year becomes 32 or 30. It's going to probably be between 27 and 32 for both those first round picks with Matthew Stafford as their quarterback. So you're really kind of looking and equating to a second round pick for both those ones.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. So I think that we're both kind of on the same page with the trade. I think last note that maybe we should make real quick is I also think that some people need to realize that we're talking about like, hey, these are future draft picks that we're giving up for Matt Stafford. You're not going to know really if Detroit came out well in this. Like, you can't call them a winner anytime soon. You have to see what happens with those picks, how they're able to maneuver in the draft with those picks. Like, what do they lead to? So just something to note. And then also, apparently, David, Matt Stafford had apparently the New England Patriots were in contact as well. And Matt Stafford did not want to be a Patriot, which is super interesting to me, to say the least.
It is super interesting to me because I thought that would have been and again, I was right if they were in the ballpark, because I thought they would have been hard after Stafford and tried to get him there, because they were a team this year that, yeah, they didn't look that great, but man, their offense really put them in a lot of bad positions. If they had a quarterback, they would have been in a lot better positions this year. And not drafting anyone, and what happened last year in free agency and different things, they landed Cam late in the process. So, for me, they definitely needed to address that quarterback position. I would have pushed hard, but I mean, it's hard to go somewhere if the quarterback doesn't want to, show up to work. So yeah. I can understand why they probably fell out of that arena themselves if they knew Stafford didn't want to go there. Just surprises me that Stafford put a hard no on New England. I think some people, the word might be out that it's not the friendliest place. It's not Disneyland to play in.
And if you had the choice of throwing to Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp over and N'Keal Harry and Damiere Byrd, I'd probably take the former on that one. So that's kind of the full digestion of the Matt Stafford, Jared Goff trade that we just saw over the last couple of days. I know we can go even more in depth on it because there's a whole lot of layers for me. And it sounds like David agrees. This is a win for the Rams. Maybe it's a win in the future for the Detroit Lions, but I don't think the immediate return is going to be anything impactful. And we have to see what happens with the draft picks. We want to move on to some Senior Bowl risers from this last week. It was exciting times. There's a lot of content going out at the NFL Draft Bible, and that is at si.com/NFL/draft if you want to get caught up on all the content that my team put out this week. Rick Saratella and the crew, as always, do an incredible job. And while I'm in the hospital for the birth of my first child, they were putting out so much content, it blew me away. So shout out to the team over at NFL Draft Bible catching up. Before we do, I want to tell you Maverick Sports Consulting is here to help organizations build the best teams available for them. We consult not just sports organizations, but also colleges, private businesses, and organizations that would like an expert in the area of team building. Mavericks is happy to help you build up a team around you that will support a strong culture of growth around your ideas and products. We would like to put our 19 years of experience of team and culture building to use for you and your company today. Don't wait. Sign up today at mavericksportsconsulting.com. So we want to talk some Senior Bowl. We're going to split this up into two mini segments. We're going to talk about offensive risers during the week. Now, for scouting purposes, I was much more worried, and I think that everyone is, about the practice week, not so much the game. Of course, there's some guys that perform well in the game, but I want to see them in one-on-one situations. I want to see a larger scope of them. I want to see multiple days of practice. I want to see how they interact amongst other players. I want to see how they relate to the coaches and take in this professional coaching. So, David, how we're going to do this is we're going to go one by one, give some thoughts, throw some players out there, maybe like 5 or 6 guys. Then we'll move on to defense and get out of here for tonight. So, David Turner, you're the man. You're the myth, the legend. I'll let you start out the segment. Go ahead. Give me a guy.
Well, I'll say the biggest riser for me, because I didn't think a lot of people knew about him. I knew about him out here on the West Coast, but a lot of people I don't think really gave him any credit when they saw the roster come out, is Felton, the running back / slot receiver out of UCLA. He was a guy that when he showed up that first day, he was ready to work. And, I mean, his quickness in and out of breaks, his ability to run routes not only on safeties but on corners. I mean, you saw him lose people each and every day with his route running ability to adjust to the ball. He's a short guy, but, I mean, he has acceleration out of his breaks. He has close quarter quickness to make people miss and in close area space and then accelerate past him and finish. So, for me, his versatility, not only as a running back, but a receiver and a possible return guy. He really, to me, rose up a lot of draft boards, and he was consistent all week, all the way through the game. He had that one touchdown in the game. He's a guy that I think was consistent all week, ready to work, and really turned a lot of eyes onto him.
Yep, absolutely. And I want to throw a couple shout outs real quick because we got some more chat room folks. Rick Saratol again said, sign me up from MaverickSportsConsultant.com, baby. Absolutely. Great services over there. Dan Cassidy, congratulating me. And thank you so much, Dan. I really do appreciate it so much. It's been exciting times. And I've had actually a little more sleep than I originally anticipated, man. Knock on wood, baby's been pretty good so far. So good times here, to say the least, at both NFL Draft Bible and Maverick Sports Consulting. And thank you all for being in the chat room. Throw questions in here at any time. Throw some comments. We love it. We love interaction. And I will say about Dimitri Felton, David, I was expecting him to play. I know he was on the roster as a wide receiver, but like we saw him exclusively at running back this year for UCLA. And in 6 games, he ran for over 600 yards, 668 yards. So he was having over 100 yards rushing a game. And for me, I was like, wow, this guy's the perfect, like he's had a wide receiver background. He plays running back. Like this is your third down back, man. This is your space player. Like this is, and then I'm seeing him like line up almost exclusively wide receiver all week, running these incredible routes, double moves, really nice route runner. So now I'm like racking my brain a little bit and saying like, so should I rank this guy as a running back? Is he a wide receiver? Does it matter? Like, what do you think the outlook on him is real quick before I throw out my guy?
Baller. Just
baller.
I mean, like
base player, manufacturer. Let's do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, like he's almost a similar size and speed as a DMC and Kamara, right? I mean, they're really in that ballpark together. So, for me, it's like you're getting a guy who can run the ball between the tackles. You see it all year at UCLA, and then you go and you see these opportunities here to catch the ball and what his receiver skills are. I mean, I thought it was really smart by him and his agent to come down as a receiver because if you want to digest the tape, they can go back to 6 games, like you said, Ryan, and watch him as a running back. And now they have a whole week of Senior Bowl where he's a receiver, and he was very, very productive receiver at the Senior Bowl. So it's like, whoa. I mean, now you got tape on both, and there's no guesswork. So I thought that was really crafty by him and his agent to do that.
I couldn't agree more on that one. Felton really impressed me this week. Thanks again, Rick, throwing that. Congratulations. Appreciate you guys so much. I really do. I thank everybody for the well wishes.
You need a draft Bible onesie. I'm working on the Maverick onesie.
Oh, Rick, if you heard that, Draft Bible onesie, send it. I almost said my address on air. Let's not do that. That's not a good idea. Rick knows my address. I don't even know why I was going to say it out loud. All right, so I'm going to throw out a guy. Ready, David? So for me, why is this week so big for some players? We talked about limited opportunity, limited ability to build a resume. For a player who had not had a season this year, did not have a fall season, what is his draft stock looking like? And I'm talking about not only a player that did not have a fall season. I'm talking about a Division III offensive lineman by the name of Quentin Miners, who was a outstanding guard at UW-Whitewater, Wisconsin Whitewater, who is a perennial power on the Division III level. And if you throw on his film, and shout out to UW-Whitewater that actually gave me access to their huddle so I could watch his film in depth. So I watch his film and I'm like, I mean, my dude's mauling people. He's a man amongst boys on the D3 level, But what is he going to look like in the big ponds with these bigger fish? Well, he went there, and not only, David, did he play a new position to him, he had started at left guard, I think, the entirety of his career at UW-Whitewater. He plays almost exclusively at center during the week, and he had one bad rep early on in the week where Levi Onwuzurike, defensive tackle from Washington, who I'm a big fan of, kind of forklift him a little bit and said, welcome, guy. Welcome, D3 guy. But then the rest of the week, man, he was eliminating folks. He was dominating dudes, like legitimately Power 5 players that might be drafted somewhere between the 2nd and 4th rounds, like legit interior defensive linemen. So now I'm going back and I'm saying, wow, He alleviated a lot of my doubt there. He showed that he can compete with these guys. And a guy that was not able to play in a season, he showed up, prepared, looked great, measured in over 6'3", 320 pounds, hit those thresholds, and he dominated practice. So for me, how could there be a bigger winner than a guy like this who not only does he have the Division III doubt, he also has the doubt if he hasn't played this year. He's playing a different position. Quentin Miners leaves this week for me as maybe the biggest winner overall of the entire week.
You know, he like you said, he was 6'3", 320, 33-inch arms, 10 and 1/4 hand, and he had the best belly of everybody because he was belly out for practice. So, you know, I was laughing when I saw him coming to practice that third day. You could tell he was feeling himself, and he had the belly out, and you could tell like people were talking about him and talking him up. So it was cute to see him like that. And he did. He had a great week. I agree with you. He did a lot of good things, but you know, to piggyback off what you were saying about him, you know, he showed really good toughness, finishability, some really good sustain with footwork and strength, and he was able to lock some dudes out. Not everybody did get full extension and lock out, but he did on enough people where, like you said, they rose their eyebrows. Another player for me that didn't play this year, he chose to opt out, but then came to the Senior Bowl ready to go and in shape and everything. Nico Collins, man. Like, Collins showed up, and he had a really good week of practice. And again, let's talk about this. We're going to say a few things here and there tonight. It doesn't mean we're hitting everybody, because Jim Nagy and them did a really good job loading up the Senior Bowl with some really good talent. But we're just picking our overall top winners. And to me, Collins is one of those guys at receiver. I think he showed why a vertical stretch offense really should be in favor of signing him and drafting him, because the way he is in the air, when they did the red zone portion of practice that one day, he went up over top. I think it was a San Diego State corner or somebody, and he really just plucked the ball out from over their top, and it was amazing to see him being so eloquent in the air at the size that he is. Good body work, body control, footwork along the sidelines all week. Very good stretch ability. I don't know if he'll be a guy that West Coast offenses will lean towards, but if I'm a vertical stretch offense, he's a guy that I'm all over after seeing what he could do at Senior Bowl week.
Yeah, and he's a guy that, you know, just from a play style perspective, gave me some like Alshon Jeffrey vibes, you know, like he's not a burner. He's not going to, you know, he's probably not a yards after catch type of receiver, but working on that vertical third of the field and be able to gain extension at the highest point. I think that he does a lot of really good things, and he did show up in shape, looked good. So shout out, he's another player that, despite not having a full season, or any season, I should say, really did some good stuff. My guy, I've been talking about him for weeks. Rick Zaratella's guy, if he's still listening. Khalil Herbert, baby. Khalil Herbert. I'm telling you, man.
I can't. Let's watch the chat room blow up now.
Hey, I'm telling you, Khalil Herbert, I mean, he was already sold me as a runner. He's incredibly patient. He's got great vision. He sees cutback lanes exceptionally well. He's got enough juice. He's a really physical runner. Did you see my dude pass blocking this week, David?
Yes. No, it was very impressive. Yeah.
I was like, okay, so you can run like that. You have soft hands. You have your kick return experience, and you can block. I think my guy's a 3-down back. I really do. And this is no hyperbole here. Like, you saw him take Tough Borland from Ohio State, who's a middling prospect. He's not much of a prospect, to be honest. He might be a late-round guy. But, man, he had the block of the week in one-on-one pass blocking drills. And it wasn't just that one block. It was like every snap. Like, there might not have been a ton of pancakes outside of that, but he was sustaining blocks. He was staying, square, patient. He was really framing guys well, being aggressive in his set. Like, there were so many good things for me. I already knew you could run. I knew you could catch. I knew you could return a little bit because you did an outstanding job at Virginia Tech as a returner as well. But now I see that you are an outstanding pass blocker in a drill where those one-on-one drills with those linebackers blitzing, that's not a high success rate drill for running backs in those one-on-one situations. For me, that opened up a lot of eyes.
Yeah, no, I fall right with you in line with that, because Herbert, the pass blocking and his pass catching out of the backfield I thought was good this week. He was definitely a guy that opened a lot of eyes this weekend. Being 5'8" and 207 pounds, almost 5'9", but again, he catches the attention on the hoof a little bit. Though personally, I would like him a little bigger. We all know that. But, he's fallen in line with a lot of what these stretch offensive running backs look like these days. So it was really nice to see him have the toughness to step up and to deliver the blow and pass protection too.
And last guy before we get over to defense, I don't know if you have anybody else, but I just want to shout out.
I got one more.
Okay,
too.
go for it then. Go for it. Jump in front of me. Get it.
Okay. I like the tight end McKitty out of Georgia.
Big hands.
11 hands or whatever it was. But, this kid has all the – you want to talk about markers? This kid came with the full array of markers. And again, there was a few tight ends that did. This was a good class here. Don't get me wrong. But, for him, 6'4", just a shy of 250, 32 and 1/4 arm and 11 hands. This is a kid that was underutilized at Florida State, underutilized at Georgia, showed up in shape, showed up ready to go, ran good routes, had some great kick out blocks, had some good seals when they were doing drills and things in team. So, it's really a guy that I thought maximized his opportunity at Senior Bowl to say, hey, I really was underutilized at those schools. Look what I can be for your team here.
Yeah, and I'm usually the one that reads the comments, David, but I'll let you choose to read that one if you wish. If not, I will move on.
I bet Samantha likes the big hands. Too bad Rick's hands aren't no size 11s, but we'll keep that just so we all know. The familia doesn't have 11 hands, but RIC, we still love you.
I heard Rick was originally going to be in that commercial with the tiny hands on the Whopper. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I hear you on that one.
Moving on there. Last offensive guy.
Trump beat him out for it. Trump beat him out for that one.
Oh yes, he did. Last guy, Deontay Smith, offensive tackle from East Carolina. I'll admit this one, David. I watched 2 of his games. I didn't like him. I'll be very honest. I was ready to throw him out, because he only played in 1 game in 2020. I took a look at 2 games, didn't like it. I really didn't. I was just some physical tools, but I don't like it. I just didn't. Then I went back because I saw a couple people had a little different of an opinion. So I'm okay, these 2 to 3 games that I watched wasn't enough. I'll go watch Old Dominion and I'll watch another one. The Old Dominion game really was the one that got me because they actually have a talented defensive end who's transferring to Georgia Tech for his final year, Keon White, who's very talented, 6'4", 265 pounds. They had a lot of one-on-one matchups in that game. I started seeing it. There is some power through those hips. There's some length. There's some athleticism. He showed up at a shade over 6'5", or 6'5" exactly, actually, I believe, and over 35-inch arms was up. He only played last year at about 275. His weight was up to 290, 295 pounds, somewhere in that range. And I wasn't expecting this. I expected him to flash. He might have been the best offensive tackle in attendance, honestly. So now I think he's going to be a very interesting conversation because for me, I don't think the tape quite matched up with the week. But then also we only got 1 game in 2020, so maybe this is just the improvement that he made. I don't know. He's a funky one for me, but shout out to Deontay Smith, man. What a phenomenal week. I honestly think he may have been the best offensive tackle in attendance this week, just based upon how he played during the Senior Bowl. I think he did phenomenally. So, just a quick one.
Now, where do you like him at, though?
So, originally, I thought he was a guard. I thought he was a zone-heavy scheme, maybe outside stretch type of guard. But then he checked in, right? And he looked phenomenal at offensive tackle, and he was 6'5", and he had 35-plus inch arms. So I'm he has all the measurables and hits all the thresholds. So I guess he's an offensive tackle, right? He
checks off all the markers. Your boy Brown, last comment on offense, but your boy Brown looked good at right tackle. He struggled at left, but at right tackle, I think he found a home and he made some money at right tackle.
Yeah, he's definitely more. He's definitely more comfortable at right, and shout out to that one too, because that's a great point, David. That will end the offense on. And people overreact so much because Spencer Brown had a couple bad reps, Northern Iowa offensive tackle the first day, but the last 2 days, man, he was locked down. He was very good. According to the game, did a very good job. And he is a guy that hadn't played in a year. So the overreactions on the first day just get me so much, man. It's like, oh, God. All right, yeah. Moving on. Defense. I only have 2 guys for this, David, so I don't know how many you have.
I have 3. But all week I was blessed to be with Patricia Trainer on Locked On Giants, and we did our Senior Bowl show every day. And he was a guy that we went through position by position, team by team every day. So it was kind of fun to do that. So if anybody wants to know my opinion on more players after this, go download those episodes from Locked On Giants, and you'll hear me all week doing everything.
Yeah, Locked On's a great network. Your favorite person's also on the Locked On Podcast Network. So shout out to Locked On Podcast Network on here. Shout out to NFL Draft Bible Podcast Network, too. Shout out to everybody out there. 10 people still in the chat. We would love some questions. Throw them in there. Send some highs. Say some buys. Whatever. It doesn't matter. But defense. You just said the last one. Did you not?
I went with the Georgia tight end, and then you went with the offensive guy, tackle. So my turn. I got Roche out of the outside linebacker out of Miami. Yeah. Good God. Him and Cooper from Ohio State, both those kids all damn week were bringing it in pass one-on-ones. Both of them were bringing it in the run drills, inside run zone stuff. They were locking up double teams. I mean, both Roche and Cooper to me were like unbelievable talents this week. And I was going to bring up Roche tonight. I don't know if you like Cooper or not, but I like both these kids a lot. I thought they both played stronger than their body frames would indicate, their measurables would indicate. I thought both of them took on double team, stacked people really well. And again, I can go on and on, but those two really were phenomenal for me. And Roche, I thought, made a lot of money as a riser this week.
I like Roche a bunch more than I like Cooper. Not huge on either guy. Like, I think they're good. I think Roche is a good football player, though. I will say that. I think he is a good football player. Rick says Roche was a beast. We had him on our show today. Great guy, strong and humble. Yes, I did check out. I did check out the daily show today from NFL Draft Bible, the State of Football. Make sure to check out that show today, where they had both Quincy Roche and Charles Snowden, the outside linebacker, edge, defensive. I don't even know what the hell he is, David. We have to have a conversation about him. I don't know what position he plays, but he's had a fantastic career at the University of Virginia. He was on the State of Football today, as well as Quincy Roche. So, yes. So pass rusher. I'm going to stay with the pass rusher, though. Talking about another small school kid. I'm bringing all the small school kid guys out here. Ready? Ellerson Smith.
Oh, that was my next one.
I stole him.
That was my next one. You stole him.
Defensive end, over 6'6", 260 plus pounds. Defensive end out of Northern Iowa. I mean, hey, so I expected, because he had a lot of one-on-one battles with Spencer Brown while at Northern Iowa, and they rave about each other in the battles that they had. And Ellerson Smith had, like, last year as a junior, 14.5 sacks, over 20 tackles for loss. So, like, he's a phenomenal football player. I expected him to be bendy on the edge, which he was. I expected him to have good flexibility in his hips and ankles, which he does. But what really set apart for me, David, was he played last year at about 240, 245. He showed up at over 260 pounds. When they lined him up inside on guards this week, it was game over. It was over. They couldn't do anything with him. So now I'm like, oh, man, you added a power element. You added some size. So now he's a guy I could say, I can line you up anywhere on passing downs, any spot, and you could take advantage of one-on-one matchups.
Well, also, I don't know if it caught your attention, but in the game, there was a bootleg, and he was playing defensive end, and he came up field, and then the bootleg came his way. He put his foot in the ground, stopped on a dime, and then accelerated to quarterback. The best technique I've seen done in a long ass time from a 6'6", 260-pound dude to be able to come off the edge, then throw his ankle and his foot in the ground and sink his hip, stop on that dime, and then push off and accelerate to quarterback. And then at 6'6", it was an incompletion because he's right there with his big old paw up in the air, and they couldn't get the ball out around him. And I was like, man, that play right there for scouts like myself that really love traditional defensive end play. I mean, that play right there will make him a lot of money because he was able to bend back to quarterback on a bootleg like that and influence a throw to the ground because of his acceleration right through the quarterback and his length intruding on the throwing lane on the for the quarterback. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of his too. Like I said, he was coming up next for me.
Yeah, I think I would be shocked. Maybe I don't want to put money on this, but I'd be shocked if Ellerson Smith makes it out of day 2 now, because just looking at all the measurables he has, all the talent he has, the size that he has added, and the ability to line up in multiple positions on passing downs in a passing league, I'm there. You got me. You sold me.
I'm sold too. I'm with you because you said, you could be a 3-4 team, and he can play the end for you at that size. You could put a little weight on him. He's definitely got a frame. You could put a little weight on him, or you could be a 43 front, and he could play the edge or outside on the edge, off the edge, coming off the edge with the hand in the dirt. So I don't think he's a stand-up guy by any sense of the imagination. But again, if a 43 team gets him or brings him in, you're looking at a guy who can pinch in, like you said, a 3 technique on rush downs. He can play outside. Potentially you could even stand him up if you chose to. I mean, I just didn't see that this week.
Yep. And Rick agrees with us. Monster. Reminds me a little bit of Preston Smith that plays with the Green Bay Packers a little bit. Like, I think there's some similar characteristics there. So got to keep an eye on Ellerson Smith. I took David, so I'll say real quick, David, we had a lot of choice words about the defensive end, Wyatt Hubert out of Kansas State, who came in with 30-inch arms, baby arms. Yeah. He looked pretty good, though, this week. I'm not going to say he's not like guys.
He's gonna fool you. He's going to fool you. He was a high motor guy, and his high motor had some success early this week.
He's got strong hands. He's got strong hands, man. Yeah. I know. He's not going to fool me. I'm not going to put a high grade on him, man, but he's fun. He's a fun guy.
He is a fun guy. He was fun to watch. Absolutely.
He performed better than I thought he would in one-on-ones. I thought some guys with length would give him a little bit of issue. I didn't think he did. I'm going to throw my last guy and then let David finish up here because I think he had 3. Last guy I wanted to just quickly shout out was Osa Odigizua. Hopefully I didn't just take that from David as well.
Defensive trust tackle. Me, that was not one of mine.
Osa Odigizua. So defensive tackle. He actually, his brother Owa Odigizua was a defensive end for the New York Giants. And was not, did not pan out very much. He was kind of, I think, an early second-round selection when he came out. Osa's a different player. He's an interior player, and he is only came in at about 6'2", 280 pounds. So an undersized player. I expected him to be a great athlete, which I think he is. I think he really moves gap to gap. He's a gap penetrator. I think as a 3-tech potentially. There's a lot of untapped potential. But, David, the thing that caught me off guard with Osa, he was winning one-on-ones all week. But the thing that caught me off guard was he wasn't moved very easily. They were putting him at 0 sometimes, just head up on the center. And, he's working against double teams. He's working in dry box situations. And I'm like, my guy at 280 pounds is not getting moved very much. So now I'm looking at him, I'm saying, no, I thought he was just just very – scheme-dependent, gap-penetrating 3-tech, but can he play in multiple spots potentially? Can he transcend, his only average and middling height and size? Because I think he did have pretty decent arm length. I don't have it in front of me, but I think it was like 33-inch arms if I had that correct. So I think that he has decent length for the interior, which I guess helps him out to lock out on those double teams and whatnot. But I think that Osa had a great week. And I think that he really, because I wasn't expecting much.
He actually had 34 and an 1/8 arm.
That's insane.
And a 10 and 3/4 hand.
That's insane.
And he's only 6'2" and 280.
That is weird, dude. That's a weird body. That is a weird body. But for me, I wasn't expecting much. I didn't love his film a ton. Like, I saw the flashes, but he looked like a completely different player this week. And he really impressed me in those one-on-ones. But in team and an inside run, he just wasn't moved very much. So shout out to Osa Odigizua. I thought he had a great week.
Yeah, I'm not with you on him. I wasn't shot in the ass with him all week. There was other guys I was more shot in the ass with. But, you and Lorenz both liked him, and I listened to you guys. I'll go back and watch some more tape on him because he wasn't one that I was coming away from the week going, ooh, yeah. But who I had no idea about, at all going into this week was this Minnesota corner, St. Juice.
Benjamin St. Juiced. You got him.
Guy is 6'3", 200 pounds, 32-inch arms, and 9 1/4 hand. And good God, I quit counting how many pass breakups the kid had all week. Like people, it's like I mean, in one-on-ones they would throw his way, but in team, it's like they never went his way because they saw him out there, and that was it. So, for me, I was just like, good golly, this kid, where did he come from? Who is he? Again, this is a very talented roster. I think out of the 146 kids that they brought down there, they all showed up for the most part, and these kids took advantage of this opportunity, whereas years in past, a lot of kids would skip it. They'd wait for their pro day, train for combine. But this year, these rosters were really filled with a talented 150 players. So, for this kid to jump out at me and amongst these other names at DB, I thought was a kudos to him. He really maximized and rised up draft boards with his play this week.
Yep, another good one. I know Jeremiah Bogan at NFL Draft Bible, our DB guru of sorts. He actually still plays defensive back on the Division II level. Really like Benjamin St. Juste. He thought he was phenomenal, both in man and zone, and had a lot of characteristics. And, I mean, you start rattling off those measurables. I'm just like, it's pretty good. Michigan transfer as well. Just throwing out there last little tidbit on him. Overall impressions, Dave, we're going to get out here a little earlier than we usually do, so that's good. So quick impression here just from the week. I know you said that it was a very successful one. We saw most of the players who decided to commit to the event did end up going. So we had a great event, I thought. Quarterback play was a little up and down, to say the least. I noticed that neither one of us mentioned any quarterbacks in this senior class because your boy Kyle Trask didn't want to compete at the Senior Bowl. But, for me, I felt like I really thought, and this is a shout out to all the smaller school players, both FCS and the Division III young man Quinn Miners that we had. For me, a lot of these small school kids really stole the show this week, which was great to see because I honestly worry about those guys because I know that they're not getting the best advice all the time. They didn't have a season. Some of these guys have thrown their hat in the ring maybe without even evaluating the full scope of what their draft process is going to look like. But for me, like, shout out to Ellerson Smith, shout out to Spencer Brown, shout out to Quentin Miners, shout out to Christian Uphoff, the safety who had a pretty solid week from Illinois State. Like, so many small school guys really took advantage of limited opportunity this week and had phenomenal weeks. So, David, final thoughts that you want to throw out there real quick.
Well, I see there's a question in the room. We'll get it. One second here, but the Graham, like you said, a lot of these kids took advantage of it. The David Moore kid out of Grambling, offensive lineman. I thought the kid from Notre Dame, one of the offensive linemen. No, not him. The other one.
Hainsey.
Yeah, Hainsey. Hainsey had a really good week. Everybody knew Banks coming into the week, but I thought leaving the week, everybody was like, who's this Hainsey kid? I want to talk about him some more, and again, we can sit here all day. Like I said, I have the papers in front of me. These rosters were loaded. Hats off to Jim Nagy for pulling it off. I texted him. I told him I hope he got to relax and enjoy the success for having such a great event. So, kudos to all him and his staff for making it happen and giving these kids an opportunity to compete. And my understanding, there's only one positive test COVID-wise for a player or staff member all week. So, God bless them for getting it all done and keeping them all safe down there.
Yep. Shout out to Jim Nagy for sure. David, this is the question that you wanted to touch base on real quick. I can read it for you if you'd like.
Yeah, I just saw it in there. I didn't know what it was.
I didn't even see it, to be honest. I was actually looking in the private chat. So we have from Michael Bryan said, do you think scouts would connect if they're not interested? I sent them prospects film and they decided to connect instead of ignoring the request. I don't want to read too much into it, but when a DB coach's name of the NFL team connected, my thoughts were that a coach probably wouldn't accept requests from players they are not interested in. Your thoughts?
Depends on the team. Depends on the player. Certain teams that I've been with, the player request would go to the personnel office, and then if it was kicked back to the coach, then they were definitely interested. Other times, other teams, such as like the Bengals, their coaches do a lot of scouting for them. So if it was that specific team, I wouldn't read too much into it because they have to get to know everybody in the draft. That's their job, and they have to write reports on them and stuff. So that would be the situation. I mean, if you want to talk, about it off camera a little bit more and give me some more specifics, we can definitely do it, and I can help you figure that out to know if you should be reading hard into it or just soft into it. So just let me know what you want to do on that one. But in that situation, it depends on the staff and the team and what they're asking the coaches to do.
We appreciate that question. I hope that answered, some part of that question. Reach out to David at @Mav_sports if you want to explore the question further. Appreciate everybody that has been in the chat room so much for taking the time, throwing some good wishes, throwing in some banter, throwing in some questions. We appreciate you all, as always, every week here, 8:30 Eastern Time, Tuesday nights, Maverick at @Mav_sports again for David, Mav Sports Take here. Ryan Roberts at Rise and Drev. Hopefully I have some more coffee next week because I need to wake up here.
Read the comments. Read the comments.
Oh, no.
Rick's breaking something.
Oh, no. Breaking news. David Garr getting dealt per report. Deshaun Watson to the Las Vegas Raiders. Blockbuster could be in the works. So first breaking news, I think, kind of, right? All right,
that's a first for us. We don't break news on maps. So I just saw it popping up, and I was like, Rick's throwing something at us. Let's get to it, boys. So we're going OT. If this is true, if this is a true statement, this is a huge get for the Las Vegas Raiders to be able to pull Deshaun away from the Houston Texans, who, again, it's always great when a team says we're not interested in drafting or trading the player. You know what I mean?
Oh, Derek Carr. Derek Carr, by the way, not David Carr. I read David
Derek Carr, yeah. Derek Carr. I'm sorry.
Come on,
Thank
Rick.
you.
Come on, Rick. Let's go, dude. All right,
yeah. But no, if Derek Carr is actually getting dealt and they're getting Deshaun Watson, obviously some picks and stuff will have to go that way in order for them to get Watson. Not only won't be just a straight up Carr for Watson deal, but that being that my initial reaction is a hell of a get for the Raiders if that's coming to fruition for them. And again, for the Texans, keep lying to us. Keep lying to us.
God. All right, quick reactions. It's going to be very easy for Deshaun Watson to get his number 4 because Derek Carr is going to be out of the door. Shout out to all right now. We appreciate it, though. We appreciate it so much for dropping some breaking news in here. Obviously, Deshaun Watson is a huge upgrade over Derek Carr. There is no question in there. I don't think I'm breaking any stories there by telling you all of that. I look forward to seeing what the deal is. I would hope that after seeing what Stafford got, in return, what the Lions got in return for Stafford, I would hope that Deshaun Watson's getting 3 firsts at least, and Derek Carr. It's a big deal, though, for John Gruden. It's absolutely a big deal. I feel like they're a team that might be in that category of one quarterback away from being, a playoff team and maybe being a Super Bowl contender. So that is a big deal. Deshaun Watson, one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. I will say the Houston Texans, their side of everything, I'm sure you're probably getting a king's ransom as far as draft picks, but what a dumpster fire the Houston Texans are. My God, we didn't even talk about the head coaching hire there. The head coaching hire, Cannizzaro, dude, now you have to replace Deshaun Watson. Maybe you replace him with Derek Carr. My Lord, what a dumpster fire. That
Jack Easterby, baby, leading them to the promised land.
Oh, my God, that sickens me, dude. It sickens me. It absolutely sickens me.
As a career personnel guy, to see where they were just a few years ago when literally when Rick Smith was there.
Right.
And they were struggling, I get it. But then they went and hired, Brian Gain to come in and work with Bill O'Brien. And Brian's a longtime personnel guy and a friend. And he only got 1 year, and he was combating Easterby, and he was combating what the coach wanted to do and the players and everything. And then they let him go, and now the coach is out. And, it's just become such they're going to have incredible difficulty signing any free agents to want to go there. And they don't have that many draft picks. Even if they pick up this year's first rounder from the Raiders, they'll have that first rounder this year and next year. You would hope they would at least have those 2, which would, obviously get them back into the first round because they didn't have a first round pick the next couple of years, but they still don't have a second. They don't have a lot of draft capital overall. And now you're in a situation where, you're trying to generate, which I applaud Nick Caserio for doing. You're trying to generate as much draft capital as you can, but again, you're losing a dynamic quarterback, a potential league MVP quarterback. So, and it's got to be a big price, like you said, to pay for Deshaun. If it's not, and it's like, say you got 3 first-rounders over the next 3 years, but you didn't get a third or something else, in spite of you got Derek Carr, I don't know if that's really enough. Being frank, I don't really know it's enough, because Stafford, they got a quarterback, they got two 1s and a 3 and a quarterback. So if you get 3 1s and a quarterback, is it enough? I don't think it is, as I'm doing my first reaction right now and I'm processing, because I don't know what the facts are. But if I'm promised three firsts and a quarterback, I still don't think it's enough for Deshaun.
3 firsts, a second, and a third next year. Let's go with that. And then,
well, that would be okay. That would be something. Okay, but again,
that's my call.
I got to see the deal. Yeah, I got to see the deal to like give you a true reaction. But what you just said, Ryan, like if they got 3 firsts, like I just listened to that and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if that's enough for Deshaun.
That's my prediction, though. I'm going to throw that prediction out there. And man, I'm sorry for harking on Houston here for a second, but like, man, you paid your quarterback $30+ million a year to be your long-term quarterback. He's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and he's only 25 years old. And you can't get out of your way, and you just lost one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL because your franchise is such a dumpster fire. How terrible is this entire situation? Last thing we'll hit on real quick. We're going overtime. Rick said, saying there will be at least 16 new week 1 starting quarterbacks for the year. Just next year, we're going. Are we going over or under on 6? Rick, you can't just say 16. You got to go 16.5 or 15.5.
Yeah, come on. Don't you know any better? I mean, because Tua is about a half. I mean, he's about a half of a quarterback, isn't he? Tua.
What are we saying? What started? Oh wait, from this year to next year. Wait, but he ended the year as a starter. Does Tua count? Or are we talking about from week 1 to next year's week 1? Or are we talking about from the end of the year?
I think Fitzmagic might wind up in New England. I think Fitzmagic might end up in New England.
All right, let me think. New England, maybe the Jets, right? I'm just doing
the Jets are not. Look at who they hired.
I said maybe. It's like a half.
It's not happening. Jets isn't happening. They hired the team to go around the Sam Donald.
I said maybe.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Los Angeles Rams.
I'm saying it's under 16. I'll say it's close. It could be 14, but I don't think it's 16.
I think it's under. 16 sounds a lot, dude. That's
half of the league.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Like you could have told me 10. I would have been like, all right, like a third of the league. I can get.
Yeah, I think Rick, if you want action on that, you gotta set it at 12.5 and see if people come take the over.
Oh, that's a good one. I would say 12.5 or 11.5. I think that is a very good over under.
That's a good over under. Yeah,
I would set it there. Okay. So we got a little delayed there. Back to the outro. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Make sure you subscribe, like, retweet, send us a review. Shout out to Mr. David Turner. Mav Sports Take, episode 27. See you all next week. Same time, same place. Everybody have a magnificent week. Thank you all so much.